Hi everyone, my name is Karen. This is my channel Rather Be Reading, and today I'm bringing to you the We Ain't Getting Any Younger book tag. Again, I'm filming this video on the same day as I filmed my previous two. If you haven't seen either of those, I'm experiencing a rather bad neck injury, so apologies if there's like weird stuff happening with the way I'm looking or not looking because I can't turn my head or have any real movement. So we're just working with what we've got. Now, the We Ain't Getting Any Younger book tag was originally created by the Codex Cantina. I will leave a link to the original video down below. I just thought this was an appropriate tag to do this month because in exactly 2 weeks from today, I am turning 32. So I really ain't getting any younger. So let's jump straight in and work our way through these questions. So the first question is, I'm sorry, I'm like doing really weird eye and head movements. Like I said, I'm in a lot of pain and I can't move my head very well. Question number one, while it's proven too many birthdays can kill you, the amount of cake we can eat is still under debate. Name the most recent book that gave you a sugar/book high. And so for this one, I'm actually going to mention a book that I just read in my last week, and I mentioned it in my recent reads video that just went up earlier this week. And that is I've Got Your Number by Sophie Kinsella. This is just like a chick lit, like rom-com-y type of read, but I just enjoyed the absolute utter crap out of this book. I just had such a good time reading it. I messaged my friend Emma as I was reading it because I know she has read quite a few Sophie Kinsella back in the day. And I messaged her and I was like, why haven't I read more Sophie Kinsella? And I just honestly, I was on a bit of a high with that book. I was just really, really enjoying it. Maybe it's all the drugs I'm on at the moment. Who knows? The second question, sometimes we get older and wider instead of older and wiser. Name the longest book you've ever read. This is also a book that I have read quite recently because I read this book earlier this year, and it is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Like I said, I read this earlier this year. My copy is 1,452 pages. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember obviously the page length of every book I've ever read, but I'm pretty sure that's the longest book I've ever read. I've read a couple of other I've read all of the Game of Thrones, and I've read Gone with the Wind, and I've read some other longer hefty books, but I'm pretty sure that is the longest one that I've ever read. Question number 3. The best part about pictures is that they're always a younger version of you. Name a book that you enjoyed more the first time you read it than the second. I really couldn't come up with an answer for this. So my rereading that I do is typically, if I'm rereading a book, it's because for one of either two reasons. I'm either rereading it because it's a book that I love, and so I know that I'm going to love it again rereading it. And even if I don't love it quite as much, I still love it, and it's not a book that I would say oh, I didn't enjoy. Or I'm rereading it because it's a book that I've read before that I remember nothing about. And so I can't say whether I enjoyed it less the second time around because I don't remember how much I enjoyed it the first time. And typically those are books from my bookshelf that I've owned for a really long time. So I would say that I did enjoy them the first time because I kept them on my shelf, but I don't really remember them. And none of those that I've reread so far I've particularly disliked. So I just really didn't really have much of an answer for this one. Question number 4. As we get older, you must learn to never skip a bathroom break before jumping in a car ride. Name a book you read in very few sittings. So this one was kind of difficult for me to come up with as well because the way I read is I actually very rarely sit down and read for long chunks of time. We've got another cat coming on screen in this video. Winnie. Winifred, get down. I very rarely sit down and read for long chunks of time. The way I read is very kind of bitsy. I read for 15 minutes here, then I watch some videos or I do a household chore, read another 15 minutes. I read in very small little chunks. So to figure out an answer for this, I actually went back on my channel and reviewed a couple of my older vlogs from 24-hour readathons that I've done, where I know that for those I have sat down and read for chunks. And so one of the books that I read in one of my first 24-hour readathon vlogs that I did was Fire and Flood by Victoria Scott. This is a book that is described as being the Hunger Games meets Pokemon. And I don't remember that much about it, but I do remember that I quite enjoyed it. But beware that there's only 2 books published in this series, and then I think it got dropped from the publisher or something happened, and the series is incomplete and like is not going to be finished because the publisher didn't pick up the third. I think it was just going to be a trilogy, didn't pick up the 3rd book. So it is incomplete. So know that going in if you're interested in picking it up. But that is a book that I read probably in about 1 or 2 sittings. Question number 5. Don't let old age get you down because it's harder to get you back up these days. Name a book you had to put down and why. So for this one, I've decided to go with one of my DNFs that I've had this year, which was The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring. You guys may recall me talking about this on my channel because it's one of my most disappointing DNFs, as I was really excited for the premise of this. It's a thriller. It's like a ghosty, paranormal thriller set in an isolated boarding school in a mansion on the southernmost tip of South America. It just sounded amazing. But I tried to read it 2 separate times, and both times I just could not get past like the first kind of 20 or 30% or however much I read. I just was really struggling to figure out what the heck was going on. And then on reviewing it on Goodreads, it actually has really low ratings. And so I'm really sad that I couldn't get through that and that I had to put it down, but that's the one for that. Question 6 is, age isn't how long you've been alive, it's how many lives you've lived. What book genres have you been wanting to try from outside your comfort zone? Now, you guys may know, if you're a watcher of my channel, then you know that I'm a very eclectic reader. I read across a huge, wide variety of genres. I have my favorites and ones that I read kind of more from, like thrillers and, things like that. But I do read a bit of everything. I read thrillers, I read romance, I read fantasy, I read a little bit of sci-fi. I read some nonfiction, I read some middle grade, like read some literary fiction. Oh, I just moved my head a bit too much just then. I really am reading from quite a wide variety of genres. The only thing, and this isn't really a genre, it's more of a classification or type of story, or type of narrative, is that I would like to try a little bit more from is poetry. I would like to try some of the like really modern popular collections like Milk and Honey, and what's the Amanda Lovelace one? You guys know what I'm talking about. I'll flash it up on the screen so you guys know which one I'm talking about. But I would like to try those because I feel like maybe those would speak to me. Because I've read maybe I think 1 poetry collection in my entire time on BookTube, which at this point is like 5.5 years, and I really didn't like it. But it is something I would like to give more of a go. But I think I would more, like I said, relate to more of the modern stuff as opposed to like more old school type of poetry, if you know what I mean. I'm really struggling to see what is on my screen right now. The next question is, life gets worse the older you get. Luckily, you don't have that much left. Name a book that slowly turned sour for you, but you finished anyway. Were you glad you stuck it out? So I struggled to come up with an answer for this one as well. But the answer I've decided to go with is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is my most hated book of the year of 2020 so far. And I will say, it wasn't that this book slowly got... to be fair, I wasn't enjoying it from the jump, but it wasn't terrible from the jump. I was struggling with the writing. I found it a little bit dull, and then as it went on, it got even more dull, and I was like, really not interested in this storyline that much. I found the plot not that interesting. And then by the end, like some stuff had happened, and I thoroughly hated this book by the end. The reason that probably this one came to mind is because I just this past weekend attempted to watch the movie adaptation. The movie adaptation is equally as terrible. I'm like, it's bad. And the makeup, special effects in that movie, I'm sorry, were really terrible. Like, they had done that thing where some of the actors who played them when they're younger, they tried to use like prosthetics and things to age them up to like play them when they're older, and it was really poorly done. Like some of the worst makeup work I've seen in a movie in a long time. So don't recommend the movie either. I didn't even finish it. And no, I'm not glad that I stuck out in the time of cholera. It was basically a waste of time. The next question is, peer pressure seems to decrease as you get older. Where did all your friends go? Name a book that you checked out because of peer pressure. Are you happy you have tried it? So this one, there's like 10 million answers, as I'm sure most of us who are on BookTube or who just watch a lot of BookTube, 99% of my books that I read come from BookTube, that I heard about from BookTube. So for this one, I decided to go with a quite hyped series of books that I wasn't sure about, and then, you know, I had to read it because everyone was talking about it. And that is the A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy by Sarah J. Maas. The thing that intrigued me most about this series is that I was intrigued by the plot and I was kind of interested in it. But then there was some kind of like iffy reviews of the first book. But then a lot of people read the second book and people were just saying how the second book just absolutely blew it out of the water and how incredible it was. And I was like, I have to give this a go. And so I did. And yes, I'm glad that I did, because I 100% agree. A Court of Mist and Fury, the second book in that trilogy, is just utter perfection. So good. So yes, I'm glad that I picked that up. And the final question number 9, friends don't let friends get older alone. Tag some people. I'm not actually going to tag anyone specific because I'm not sure. I think this tag's been around for a while. I'm not sure who's done it. I know Chloe did it recently. That's where I saw it. I'll leave a link to her video down below. Why not? But I'm not going to tag anyone in particular. But this was a really fun tag. So if you maybe have a birthday coming up, or if you just feel like you ain't getting any older, then feel free to give this one a go. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've got any thoughts on any of the books that I answered in this. Or if you just want to chat, I would love to chat in the comments down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye guys.